Hello, welcome to another episode on Evolve. I'm your host, Olufunmilayo Oloyede. And in today's episode, I'm going to share something powerful, yet often misunderstood by a lot of people. And that is mistakes, a tool of defense. Now, when we think of mistakes, we usually see them as something to avoid. Signs of failure, weakness, or poor judgment. But what if I told you that mistakes, when viewed correctly, can actually serve as a tool of defense? Stay with me, because this might change the way you see your past, your growth, and even your future. What is a mistake? It's simply an action or decision that didn't lead to the intended outcome or to the intended desire. But does that make it useless? No. Mistakes serve as lessons, it serves as boundaries, and even shields that shape our discernment in decision making. Think about the prodigal son in Luke 15. His mistake was very costly. He squandered his inheritance on reckless living. But that same mistake became his defense against future stupidity or foolishness. He learned wisdom, he learned humility, and the true value of a family. His mistake became a tool that reshaped his character. So how exactly do mistakes act as a tool of defense? I want to break it down to 3 key ways. Mistakes build discernment. Have you ever touched something very hot as a child? That mistake taught you to be cautious around fire. The same applies in life. When we make errors, whether in relationships, in business, or ministry, they create a reference point that makes us to become wiser, smarter, sharper, and more discerning. For instance, a music minister might misjudge a collaboration and later recognize the importance of spiritual alignment before joining hands with others. That mistakes now guard his future ministry. He now knows the step to take forward when he needed to do something of such. Number 2, our mistakes reveal our weakness. Okay, this is where my weaknesses are. Because it does expose to us areas that we need to strengthen. If you keep falling at something, it's not to break you, but to reveal where you need growth. It's like an alarm system showing where the enemy might attack next. And I remember one of these days, one of my pastors said something that if you're struggling on a particular area of your life, it is a tool for ministry. You need to look into that, sit down, research, and learn from the mistakes moving forward. Like the case of Peter. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. 3 times, you can imagine, a major mistake. But through that, Peter confronted his fear, he repented, and became a more bolder and confident disciple. His past failure and mistakes did not affect his future. He didn't have to have a kind of compromise in his future. Number 3, mistakes makes us humble and keeps us dependent on God. Sometimes mistakes are the greatest defense against pride. Against pride. If we never stumbled and we believe we have everything figured out, but God allows certain missteps, certain error to remind us to always trust Him. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, it says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." If every plan worked perfectly, we might forget the need for divine wisdom and grace. But what about the mistakes that cost us so dearly? Here is the good news. God redeems mistakes. God redeems every mistake. Romans 8:12 says, "All things work together for good to those who love God." And that includes your failure, my failures, your misjudgments, your regrets, because they are key to learn from them. The key to learn from them, rather, is to allow God use them as a defense mechanism in your future. And I want to ask, what past mistake can you now see as a tool of defense in your life? I need you to think on that. What were the errors that you find yourself in, that sometimes before now you've blamed yourself over and over again on it? I need you to think deep, because that same mistake will serve as a tool for defense for you in the nearest future. I need you to know that mistakes are not the enemy when surrendered to God. They become stepping stones, they become boundaries that guides us into wisdom and purpose. So the next time you fall short, don't judge yourself. Don't dwell on the pain. Ask, what is this mistake trying to teach me or protect me from? Because sometimes your greatest mistake could be the very thing that will save you from a greater downfall. Till I come your way next time, I remain your host, Olufunmilayo Olumide. Bye.